Pete, I'm actually going to ask you questions because I want to hear your answer. How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a Sheehy, so I'm on board. What is the diameter of the rifle round fired out of an M4A1 rifle?
That's a 5.56.
How many push-ups can you do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
What do you think are most important strategic bases in the Pacific?
In the Pacific, Guam is pretty strategically significant.
How many rounds of 5.56 can you fit into the magazine of an M4 rifle?
Depends on the magazine, but standard issue is 30.
Senator Sheehy and Pete Hegseth meathead back and forth did more to prove just how unprepared and unserious he is to be defense secretary. You know, we're getting closer to sitting back and seeing how many push-ups equal knowing anything about the job that he thinks he's prepared to take.
And I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations in that, but I know we have allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr. Hegseth, none of those countries are in ASEAN.
Across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Listen.
Senator Duckworth asked Pete that question about ASEAN due to the vital role that those countries in the Southeast Asian region play in our consistently mentioned battles with China. It's the kind of question that gets to the heart of how these kinds of guys think that they can just move through the world with a sense of shouting about how quickly they can kill somebody, but actually have no idea how to outmaneuver other countries. His strategy for everything is destruction and intimidation.
We're putting the warfighters first. That's what Donald Trump asked me to do. Your job is to bring a warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon. Your job is to make sure that it's lethality, lethality, lethality. Everything else is gone. Everything else that distracts from that shouldn't be happening.
Everything else is gone. Kind of lets everyone know how he ran a military nonprofit into the ground and has been accused of always showing up to work drunk and prone to sexual assault, which might be why he's got such an aggressive stance when it comes to women in the military.
January 2013, you told a Fox News interviewer that women in the military simply couldn't measure up to men in the military, saying that allowing women to serve in combat roles would force the military to lower the bar. You picked up on that same theme in 2015, making remarks on Fox News, referring to women in combat as, quote, it would erode standards. June 2024, you said on Ben Shapiro's podcast, quote, women shouldn't be in combat at all. And then, of course, we've talked about it in 2024, you published a book, and you say on page 26 of your book, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. Page 48 of your book, you claim that women should not be in combat roles, because men are distracted by women.
Too many women get in the way of all that lethality that he thinks solves all the problems of the world. So now that he has to act like all the wild things that he always said make sense, Hegseth came up with a BS excuse for those statements. But Senator Warren was too smart, apparently not lethal enough to see it coming.
For me, this issue has always been about standards. And unfortunately, because of some of the people that have been in political power for the last 4 years, priorities other than standards, lethality, and meritocracy have driven decision-making.
I'm quoting you from the podcast. Women shouldn't be in combat at all. Where is the reference to standards? That they should be there if they can carry, if they can run? I don't see that at all, Mr. Hegseth. What I see is that there's a 32-day period in which you suddenly have another description about your views of women in the military. And I just want to know, what changed in the 32 days that the song you sang is not the song you come in here today to sing?
His desire to give accommodating senators something to act like he's normal on is the reason for his sudden acceptance of women in the military. Having a change of heart or perspective is what progress looks like. But when you haven't actually had one, it's impossible to explain how you got to where you now claim to be on the subject.
About what happened in that 32 days. You got a nomination from President Trump. Now, I've heard of deathbed conversions, but this is the first time I've heard of a nomination conversion. And I hope you understand that many women serving in the military right now might think that if you can convert so rapidly your long-held and aggressively pursued views in just 32 days, that 32 days after you get confirmed, maybe you'll just reverse those views and go back to the old guy who said straight up, women do not belong in combat.
You know, considering the fact that the incoming president has taken back his promises to voters on things like grocery prices, H-1B visas, the effect of tariffs, and not engaging in wars, Pete Hegseth could be following his lead by acting like he's in favor of women in the military for the sake of getting confirmed. But what Senator Warren really nailed Hegseth down on is his eventual desire to violate some more of MAGA's fake populism and work for the defense industry, where he can make a fortune off of engaging in conflicts for profits. It's staggering how badly he answered this question.
Will you put your money where your mouth is and agree that when you leave this job, you will not work for the defense industry for 10 years?
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about because
You can
it's
think
not
about it
one
right
that-
now.
It's not one, my motivation for this job
I understand
has never
that. I
been
just
about
need
what
a
could
yes or no
conceivably
here.
come next.
Time is short. I just need a yes or no.
I would consult with the president about what the policy should be
In
at the Defense
other
Department.
words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals. So you're saying sauce for the goose, but certainly not sauce for the gander?
I would want to see what the policy of the
Oh,
president
I'll
is.
bet you
Thank-
would.